Waking up to a Donald Trump announcement, especially one concerning international trade, is a bit like finding a raccoon in your dishwasher. It's startling, unexpected, and you immediately know you're going to have a bad day. Unexpected, messy, and almost certainly never good news. It's a situation that demands immediate attention, but you're never quite sure where to start. On July 30th, 2025, Trump, back in office, wasted no time in making his presence felt on the global stage. He announced a 25% tariff on a slew of Indian goods, sending ripples of concern through the international markets. His reasoning? India's high tariffs on American products, a long-standing point of contention for the former president, especially Harley-Davidson motorcycles, a brand he had championed in the past as a symbol of American manufacturing. And this time, India's ongoing trade with Russia, a relationship that had deepened in the wake of international sanctions. In Trump's eyes, buying Russian oil was a betrayal, a direct challenge to the united front against Moscow, undermining U.S. foreign policy and its efforts to isolate Russia economically. The tariff wasn't just about trade, it was about something much bigger. It was a demand for loyalty, pick a side, and make it clear where your allegiances lie. Indian markets were rattled, as investors tried to assess the potential damage. But many hoped it was just tough guy posturing, a negotiating tactic designed to extract concessions. After all, a 25% tariff stings, but it's survivable. Businesses can adapt, and new markets can be found. Like a bad haircut, annoying, but it grows back. But Trump wasn't just holding scissors. This wasn't a trim. He was revving up a chainsaw, and the sound was deafening. The message was clear. This was not a drill. This was just the beginning, a taste of what was to come. The world braced for what came next, knowing that the stakes were high and the potential consequences far-reaching. And nobody expected the next move to come so fast, catching everyone off guard. 5 days later, Trump doubled down, literally. He warned India to cut Russian oil imports and lower tariffs on U.S. goods, or face consequences. This wasn't negotiation, it was an ultimatum. On August 6th, he announced tariffs would jump to 50% effective August 15th, India's Independence Day. Diplomats and business leaders were stunned. The fragile U.S.-India partnership was suddenly on the brink. The only concession goods already at sea were exempt. For Indian exporters, the American market was now a fortress with a 50% tariff wall. The raccoon in the dishwasher? Now it was trashing the whole kitchen. The trade war had officially begun, and the fallout would be brutal. As the trade winds shift and global tensions rise, the question looms large. Who gets hit hardest by these changes? Which sectors will bear the brunt of new policies and shifting alliances? India's textile and apparel industry, a sector supporting millions of jobs, a cornerstone of the nation's economy, now finds itself at risk as U.S. retailers, facing their own pressures, begin to look elsewhere for cheaper alternatives. The future of this industry hangs in the balance. Gems and jewelry, India's world-class diamond and gold trade, renowned for its craftsmanship and global reach, now faces skyrocketing prices for raw materials, threatening the livelihoods of artisans and the competitiveness of exporters. Auto parts? Indian suppliers are beginning to lose their crucial price edge, risking valuable contracts and impacting jobs across the entire automotive supply chain. The consequences could be far-reaching. The ripple effect is undeniable. Factory closures become a grim reality, leading to lost livelihoods for countless families, and ultimately delivering a significant blow to India's overall industrial growth aspirations. But amidst the uncertainty, it's important to remember that not everyone's in the crosshairs. Some sectors remain relatively unscathed. Pharmaceuticals, specifically India's generics industry, were largely spared. The political ramifications of raising drug prices in the US make it a risky proposition. IT and software services, also for the most part, untouched by the storm. Because even in the midst of a trade war, you simply don't mess with America's access to affordable pills or reliable tech support. The underlying message is clear. Some industries are deemed too vital, too essential to target with punitive measures. But for millions of Indian workers and their families, the potential for economic pain is very real and deeply concerning. The good list of protected sectors remains relatively small, while the naughty list of vulnerable industries is worryingly massive. And as global dynamics continue to evolve, The stakes for India's economy and its workforce have simply never been higher. India's response to these tariffs? Diplomatic, measured but firm in its resolve. New Delhi swiftly called the tariffs deeply disappointing, a sentiment echoed across various sectors, and threatened proportionate retaliatory duties on a range of U.S. goods, carefully selected to make an impact. Specifically targeting almonds, apples, and even bourbon, iconic American products. But at the heart of this trade dispute lies something far more fundamental. India's ever-growing energy needs. With a massive population of 1.4 billion people and counting, access to cheap Russian oil isn't just a luxury for India, it's an absolute economic necessity to keep the country running. Forcing India to buy significantly pricier oil from other sources would inevitably fuel inflation, placing an unbearable burden on the country's poor. Washington, however, often sees this situation through the lens of a loyalty test, demanding alignment. But New Delhi views it as a matter of national survival, prioritizing the essential needs of its vast population. India's long-standing policy is one of strategic autonomy, aiming to be friends with everyone while remaining beholden to absolutely none. Trump's characteristic all-or-nothing approach to diplomacy carries the significant risk of pushing India even closer to Russia and China, rather than driving it away. Leading experts consistently warn that this move fundamentally misunderstands India's complex economic realities and its deeply ingrained independent streak in foreign policy. In the delicate art of global diplomacy, resorting to yelling and ultimatums rarely if ever achieves the desired results. And in this particular instance, such an approach might very well backfire spectacularly, creating unintended and damaging consequences. The fallout? Severe. India faces job losses, factory closures, and a blow to its growth. The US-India partnership, once a counterweight to China, now hangs by a thread. Treating India as an adversary, not a partner, risks unraveling decades of cooperation. The message to the world: if India can be hit overnight, no one is safe. Global trade grows more fragmented, more chaotic. The gamble could backfire on everyone: Indian industries, American consumers, and the global order. The US-India bromance is on the rocks. In a trade war, the boomerang always comes back, and nobody escapes unscathed.